This is the Smogon World Cup. Why the hell is there a monkey on my screen?
This is what happens when you meet your own idol, but on the battlefield. Meet Pais, Team Italy's home frontman, against the strongest
And the luckiest.
player of the world.
Tonight, we break down every turn of this war on the top. And since this is ABR, this hex alert will flash in the critical moments. We will try throughout the entire game. But first, a little spoiler, this is not a disaster game. No, Pais, don't do it, no, no!
Cazzo fai? No, perché il rimone? ABR came with a thunder, Regieleki for the second consecutive time. That's right, last game, ABR with his Regieleki reminded us all what it means to be the luckiest player in the world. Kudos to the opponent who decided to waste the check. But how do you beat ABR? Pais thought simple, with a team made by ABR. And a few tweaks. Imitation is the sincerest form of Flattery. Some people might recognize the ABR special, the main defensive core of BALLSY, Gliscor, Pesharant and Skarmory. ABR finalized it with Ogerpon for anchor support, plus speed control, and Walkie Wake or Hisuian Samurott. But Pais said, nah, I'd monkey.
The monkey sucks. It's a Terra Hog, it's 4 times weak to Bug, a useless ability outside of Sun, except it is actually a genius pick against ABR. Zarude is stupendously bulky, and equipped with Terra Poison, can break through teams carried by Pesharant plus Steel Birds. Ogerpon could never. By the way, I was there during the prep with my friend, and I'm not gonna lie, the other option proposed were not up to the launch standards, but this got a pass. Barely. But ABR's team, no one saw it coming. And you know what else no one saw coming? ABR's collaboration in this video. We have shared the battlefield with ABR before, and when we asked, he delivered.
For the general mindset of the team, I really wanted to use Spec's Regieleki because of its speed tier and revenge-killing potential. It outspeeds Wake, Valiant, Deoxys, pretty much everything. And Spec's Terra Electric can OHKO so many offensive Muns. However, obviously, ground types are an issue, so I had 2 main plans for how to deal with that. 1. Ogerpon as a way to abuse the ground's 1v1 or motivate them to Terra. 2. A Slowking set that focused on baiting ground types with Terrace Ice Beam, as well as Trick Black Sludge to force certain lures or scenarios. Obviously, Future Sight into Eliki in means you get to click your electric moves freely versus Tusk teams, which is really nice.
It is clear, ABR came prepared, but Pais studied every line. Will this be enough? Zarude versus the superior grass type, a mirror of the master and its apprentice. Both players are leaning off with their win condition. The monkey looks like the perfect check to the onslaught of Ogerpon, who could otherwise scare Gliscor out.
Wake up to reality.
No, you must scout for your turn. Losing the monkey this early means you lose the entire game, period. Pais is this close to a Weezing Lounge special. But luckily, he scouts with Pesharant, with a perfect switch. ABR goes into Slowking, an obvious switch, right? But this is where ABR's master plan is starting to take form, straight from turn 2. This locking can threaten a trick, which would render useless a piece of Pais' team. Lose Gliscor, you lose to Regieleki. Lose a wall, you lose to Ogerpon. But the most important piece of the team, the monkey. The main and only way to make progress for Pais. You must keep it like your virginity before marriage. By no means you should risk it.
Nah, actually, not today. This play is pure genius. And guess what? Why don't we let Pais himself explain it?
On turn 2, I go Zarude because it covers a lot of ABR's most reasonable options at once. First, it protects me against potential Future Sight or Psychic Noise pressure into Pesharant, and even Ice Beam isn't doing much. Looking at team preview, I also felt like Trick's Looking Galar was one of the sets I needed to respect the most. Black Sludge Trick wasn't especially common at the time, but it made a lot of sense for this particular team. especially because it helps patch the stun matchup, which I didn't think Ogerpon Wellspring could handle on its own. Once I get tricked the Black Sludge, it actually works out pretty well for me, since Terra Poison Zarude is one of the key Terras on this team. With Terra Poison, Zarude can take advantage of the Black Sludge recovery and potentially use Corviknight as a top fodder, boosting with either Sword Dance or Trade Blades and putting itself in a position to sweep his team later on.
Zarude knocks the Rocky helmet off, and Covid goes for U-turn, breaking Skarmory's Sturdy. Cinderace is in, but Gliscor is not poisoned yet. It can't come in. Therefore, patch around it is. The damage is minimal. Now you can easily recover that, because if you don't, Ogerpon might actually two-shot you, and Skarmory, without Sturdy, is going down. Except, Cinderace blocks it with Taunt. This is part 2 of ABR's master plan. First, you neutralize a threat with Black Sludge. Then, you damage Ogerpon's checks, and make sure they stay down. You might understand what the next point is going to be, right? The final step of the master plan. Ogerpon is in, and Pais, as we say in Italy, è in un mare di merda.
This is the most important turn of the entire game. If Pais loses Keldeo this early, the game could turn ugly and fast. But if ABR reads the switch, a wall crumbles, masterfully brought in range by ABR since turn 4. This turn is where boys become men. Pais with balls made of titanium got an insane read against his idol. I want you to give a like for this play.
By the way, Secret Sword instead of Aura Sphere, bypassing the boost by hitting the physical defense, a change I'm responsible of. I held Pais on gunpoint to change Aura to this move. The extra damage will force ABR to change its entire plan. Speaking of plans, this turn needs all the attention. Why don't we ask the players themselves?
Okay, so on turn 8 I decide to click Secret Sword rather than making the safer play. For Ogerpon to make real progress in this matchup, it needs to break through either Patcharunt or Skarmory first. Well, because of that, I felt ABR would be much more inclined to click a setup move, or EV Cudgel than go for a grass move. If I switch out and he clicks the grass move, he loses a lot of momentum, so it felt like an unlikely option. But if I get this prediction right, Secret Sword does over 50%, which is huge chip on one of the most important Pokémon on his team. It turns out he's adamant, so Keldeo takes a lot on return. That definitely makes Ogerpon harder to switch into over the long term, but it also means it's much easier to pressure. Since he now has to preserve it much more carefully, I can take advantage of that by using Flip Tour more aggressively and keeping momentum on my side.
As for turn 8, I obviously ended up getting the turn wrong, but I was worried about Zarude long term, and so I wanted to play aggressively and Force Codes when I could get them, and Terra Cudgel on switch, or just Aura Sphere Sacred Sword. Let me get that first kill.
Ogerpon is revealed to be adamant, and because of that, Keldeo, being able to revenge kill it, becomes even more important. It will be a tragedy if he gets wasted later in the game, right?
But now the star of the video is in, and this is why getting tricked wasn't a shock. Terra Poison and Zarude suddenly gets extremely scary. The monkey is about to go Super Saiyan against ABR, and Covid knows it, and cowardly runs to Mommy. And this is where it gets tricky. Cinderace moveset is almost revealed, but the last move is what changes everything. Will-O-Wisp will end the game on the spot. There is no question about it. But would ABR pronounce the best move Cinderace could ever run? Card change for the inaccurate Will-O-Wisp?
Who knows ABR knows his philosophy. Never, ever run inaccurate moves, except if they are essential to a Pokémon's usage. That's why Cinderace runs Pyro Ball, as going without it would be like using Dracovish without Vicious Rant, or Lavos without a Rage Quit.
ABR is not only considered one of the best players in the world, but also the luckiest, and not entirely by chance. He takes advantage of every aspect of the game, and RNG is king. If he can go for a secondary effect, be sure he will try it. Besides, his reputation as the luckiest is like an aura that fends off every opponent. often making them stumble as they try to play around the crit, like a Nuzlocke. But the problem stands. If this is not Will-O-Wisp, Pyro Ball can still burn, and ABR is going all in.
But Pais, the frontman, reads through the bluff and takes the odds. Cinderace, you are eliminated from the Squid Games. And if you don't subscribe, the odds of being eliminated are always high. Zarude avoids the burn, but if you think the game is over,
But you are under a misconception.
Ting Lu is in, and a weakness policy set, which, by the way, I might have created last year, will end the game. Besides, this is ABR we are talking about. You might escape the devil once, but eventually the axe will come.
Pais needs to prevent ABR's counter-offensive. The plan is the following: scout Ting Lu set, press Ogerpon with the spikes, and lastly, keep Skarmory and Passionate out of Ogerpon's range. And finally, after an odyssey of turns, he gets it. The spike is up, and Ting Lu is revealed to be leftist, but we need way more chips to bring it in range of Zarude. And Pais can't risk a crit. Yet.
Remember, Pais needs to bring home this win for its country. Team Italy is watching, the Lounge is watching. Losing,
That is not an option.
ABR spams Earthquake without a care in the world, focused on his mission, but on tour 69, with 2 spikes up, Pais finds a turn to dance. It is now or never. ABR decides to deploy its legendary soldier. Regieleki is ready to rumble, and last time this happened, Regieleki delivered. But luckily for Pais, no crit or para. How is he doing it? Bro, if you don't get crit by ABR, you are the lucky one. Jokes aside.
Turn 74. Zarude shrugs off the damage with a synthesis, but Ting Lu is back in. Except, Pais goes for the BALLSY knockoff as ABR gets the wrong play. Team Italy erupts in joy. As ABR seemingly loses all the progress, he decides to steal the sludge back in a desperate attempt, but Slowking is still too low, and now everything is in range of Keldeo. Surf is totally free. There is no way for Pais to...
Ti prego, non farlo. Non farlo, no, 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 no!
Pais, porca puttana, che cazzo fai? No, no, perché rimone? Che rimone maledetto che sei!
Cazzo stai facendo?
My dear distinguished guest, this chalk deserves a big like. Keldeo gets absolutely obliterated for no reason. I've lost the will to comment further on this turn. I let Pais explain this to the cart.
Okay, so at this point of the game, my thought process was that he really needs to preserve Earthquake PPs with Ting Lu because he needs to break through Zarude. And for this reason, I decided to switch out Gliscor and go Keldeo. Because if he stays in, I really didn't expect him to click Earthquake because it just means to waste one PP versus Gliscor, one crucial PP. But at the same time, if he switches out, I just can make progress with my own Keldeo. Well, at the end, this read doesn't really work out. He stays in and goes for Earthquake, and that lets ABR pick up a knockout and swing momentum in his favor.
It's alright. Pais feels sure to win with the monkey, but the toll of this long game is starting to weigh on his shoulders. On turn 86, Ting Lu reveals rest. The game suddenly becomes harder, and Pais is running out of time. Pacharant and Skarmory are quite low, and Ogerpon is looking scary, but the frontman doesn't seem to care, avoiding the recover button like pineapple on pizza. Ugh, disgusting. And this is where ABR decides to reveal the ace in its sleeve, Hornleech. With an off recovery, it can escape Trailblaze's range, and if that happens, the game can turn dark. But Pais doesn't let him.
Meanwhile, BALLSY clearly proves to be a disaster instead of a useful team member. It's doing more for ABR than for its own trainer. But the real disaster is about to fall upon us. Turn 118. The number you call in Italy when you need an ambulance. Passionate is left in on a devastating future side, all because of BALLSY. Bringing the Fat Blob in will only give more HP to the Ogre, but eventually it happens again. Pais doesn't let him, but the small recovery still heals it high enough so that Trailblades becomes a role.
ABR taunts by writing a seemingly dry word, test, but this is psychological warfare. Except, right when the kill was about to happen, ABR clicks the unexplicable U-turn. Look at Petarant. This is the face of someone who just cheated death. In this spot, killing Petarant will bring Zarude in. Snow was up, so Synthesis will be nerfed, meaning that if Pais doesn't get the right roll with Trailblaze, you could bring the monkey down with a cudgel. From there, the rest of the team can finish the game. ABR had a different plan in mind.
With turn 122, his Zarude was faster than my Ogerpon. Adamant as shown versus Keldeo. Zarude was out of range of Earthquake from Ting Lu, and my Ting Lu was in 2-hit co-range from +2 Trailblaze, so I preferred to force kills with Slowking instead of Ogerpon if possible, to not let Zarude Revenge kill me. I'm not sure in retrospect if these were fully correct plays, but that was my thinking at the time.
To be honest, it could have worked, but Pais knows the time for caution is over. Zarude is in for the final showdown. ABR needs to maximize the odds of critting. Therefore, Ting Lu goes for rest. The reason is, Sleep Talk can call for Earthquake, allowing for 2 more crit chances. And this is where everything is decided.
But Zarude is the one to crit Ting Lu.
Unbelievable!
The glory is at hand. Now all it takes is clicking Trailblaze for the last time. No! Reroll!
Sleep Talk comes.
But the crit never happens! Zarude holds!
The game is over, ladies and gentlemen, and the champion ABR concedes the crown to his friend. ABR, the CEO of Stall, defeated by its own creation.
Zarude sitting proudly on the world map. Oddly flat and without eastern states. Why?
Shoutouts to the players for such an entertaining game. ABR demonstrated how to never lose focus, trust on your tools, and always seek for the win, even in a bad matchup. Meanwhile, Pais has shown us that even under pressure, you must make the plays that count.
Finally, a match that didn't make us want to quit the game for good. But if you want to see the best players play like complete degenerates instead, you should check these videos out. Welcome to the Weezing Lounge.